Now, Britain has two competing groups, both aiming to become the main campaigners for Britain to leave the European Union. Leave.eu were behind the stunt that happened earlier today at the CBI conference, where two students got in by posing as businessmen, and then this happened.
We're going to have a debate in a minute. If you wait for a second, you can ask me a question rather than interrupting what's a very good conference. Come on.
The other campaign group, Leave.eu, and their founder is Arron Banks, joins us now. As you can see, thanks for joining us here on Sky News this afternoon. What did you make of what they got up to?
I think it's a bit childish. I think heckling people isn't the way to go. Isn't the way forward.
So your organisation would never do anything like that?
Also, we wouldn't ever do anything like that. But I think it's a serious debate, particularly over the CBI. I think there's probably a better way to make the argument.
Nevertheless, you know, they were taking on the CBI, weren't they? They disagree with what the CBI is standing for. They feel that they are pro-Brussels, and we are talking about them this afternoon because they managed to get in and heckle the Prime Minister.
Well, that might be the case, but that's not a reason to do it. I think if you look at the business arguments, the CBI represents the top 1% of big business. 99% of businesses in the UK are small businesses or medium-sized, and 100% of the regulations apply to them equally. So I agree with the sentiment, but I don't think it's the right way to go.
Why do we need two groups, two organisations who are both fundamentally trying to achieve the same thing?
Well, I think we're a very different campaign. We're non-political. We're seeking to sort of engage the general public. We've got nearly 300,000 supporters in 3 months, 2,000 small businesses, 1,300 local councillors, and we're trying to reach out to the general public. I think the other campaign are a very Westminster-based group, and I think, you know, the two things are complementary in the sense they do two different things.
Yeah, given that you're complementary, I suppose at some stage you are probably going to have to amalgamate, aren't you?
Well, it's possible. I mean, there will be a designated campaign, and one campaign will win and the other won't, and I guess whether they come together before that point or not is a moot point. We'll have to wait and see.
So why should people support your campaign rather than the other campaign that, according to most of the general public, will think actually you're both doing the same thing, you both want us to come out of the EU?
Well, as I say, we're very different campaigns. We're kind of a grassroots campaign with a 300,000 supporters. If you look at the other side, they're very narrowly based in Westminster.
Yeah, but
so
how's the message different, given that the message is come out of the EU? How's it different?
You know, I mean, we would argue the things to talk about with the CBI is the fact that the top 1% of companies use the European Union to avoid corporation tax or to limit it to a tiny degree. They like the big regulation, they like the entity. I would claim that the smaller business community are not so much in love with the European Union.
Prime Minister's somewhat changed his tack, hasn't he, today, basically saying I'm not going to roll over and let the European Union tickle my tummy. If I don't get what we need in order for Britons to be happy, then I'm going to say we should come out of the EU.
Well, the Prime Minister says many things. I mean, he's had a different position on just about every element of this. So I'm not a fan, as you probably gathered, and I don't believe in this particular policy stance more than any of the other ones he's had.
You're up against it, aren't you, though, Mr Banks, with people like three surviving Prime Ministers, John Major, Gordon Brown, Tony Blair, all saying stay within the EU, Sir Richard Branson, Baroness Brady, Stuart Rose, they're all there lining up against you.
Well, look, the latest set of polls we've actually commissioned show that our biggest electoral assets are people like Tony Blair that are very unpopular in the country. And I don't think necessarily having people like Tony Blair and Gordon Brown on the other side is a disadvantage at all.
I'll have to wait and see, won't we? Good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you.